This is a good one. This is a juicy one. But
Okay.
what unhealthy fitness or health habits do you have that you should get rid of?
I
Yeah.
feel like everyone has a lot.
Yeah.
Like honestly, when it comes down to it, because I got habits in the gym wise and then nutrition wise, I would say. But I like right now, especially as I study to be a nutrition coach, like that's the biggest ones that are kind of um popping up in my head is and as I'd like to think of the worst things you could do when it comes to food, it's simple carbs and trans fats. And so basically breads and fried foods, which in America we love.
Yeah.
And so those are two things I really want to eliminate out of my diet. And so I would say that's probably the biggest, but I could go on a lot of bad habits that I have. What would you say yours is?
Oh shit, you just redirected. You pulled the old reversey. All right. I'll get vulnerable with it. Um, I'd say my unhealthy fitness habits. Let's do fitness first. I would say fitness wise, I'm not super consistent, dude. Like some days, no, some weeks I'm training 3 days a week. Some weeks I'm hitting my four. Because I only train like 4 days a week. I don't do five. It's what works for me. I get maximal recovery and I can really, really focus on those 4 days. But I'm not 100% consistent. Like I'll train 3 days and fourth day I'm like, bleh, which is why I have to go to the gym today. Fitness, still, let's say in the gym, like what's some unhealthy shit? Um, I don't know in the gym. Once I get in there, I'm like good to go. Health wise, bro, I just ate a pizza like 2 days ago. I don't give a damn. Like a whole pizza, pretty much. And like, I'm pretty good with my diet. I eat every single day, almost consistently. I'd say like no, maybe 2 days out of maybe 2 days out of the week, I'm not eating my like specific diet, which is literally like a pound and a half of beef and like brown rice. Like I make sure I hit my beef intake like every fucking day. I love having my beef, um, just because it helps so much. But I do like from time to time enjoy a whole pizza.
Down a whole pizza.
Dude, I don't care. Like when I get I'll just be like, I don't want to freaking cook tonight, and then I'll just buy a pizza and like, or I don't, not always be like. Sometimes it'll be like, there's a lot of different places here in Hawaii that you could eat that are delicious, but are fried, like you'd say. Um, like my favorite is Jollibee. It's like the Filipino KFC. It's delicious. That's my
Yeah, I want to get down to where I'm like only having maybe 2 meals around a week of cheating from a diet
Mhm.
because I'm definitely doing more than that right now,
Are you?
which makes it harder on a cut too because the crappy food is less filling. And so you just end up starving yourself more if you're trying to watch the calories.
Yeah, because there's such high calorie content in like the shitty food. Such high calorie content.
Yeah.
How many
Diet's a
days?
hard thing.
How many days are you cheat mealing? Be honest.
Probably like 3 or 4.
Nice.
Yeah. It's see, I protein and calories I'm watching though. Like
Mhm.
I really try to keep those in check regardless of what I'm eating and everything. It's honestly not hard to do that.
Yeah.
That's I would say is really easy. But in terms of getting all your nutrients and all your carbs and your fats, keeping those in check with the other macros, yeah, it's just a different ball game. And that's where just planning your meals out in advance so you don't have to be watching everything. Because, I mean, you could just track everything as you eat it, like,
Mhm.
but that's a pain in the rear end. I'd rather plan it before.
I was consistently meal prepping for a long time. Like I had my 7. Actually, I think I did. I would have like 8 meal preps in the freezer, um, most of the time, and then after I think moving to Kapolei, completely stopped doing that. So, which is really upsetting because that was amazing having those ready every single day. I just throw it in the microwave for like 8 minutes and it'd be Gucci. And now it's like I get my beef, but I have to cook it every day. Like every day that I'm eating beef, I cook it every day. And so like I'll freeze like a pound and a half in like Ziplocs, which is another thing. I'm using a shit ton of Ziplocs. I'm using a lot of Ziplocs. I'm going through a fuck ton of Ziplocs, which isn't good for the environment, but especially here in Hawaii, that's frowned upon. But
So I was honestly studying this week. I was studying the carnivore diet because I never really dove into it, and so I started looking into it. And it was kind of interesting. There's this one guy. He's pretty big. I can't remember. He did the carnivore diet for a long time.
Paul Saladino, something like that, I think.
No, he's like a small guy, but he's like an Asian kid. He's super young.
Tristan Lee.
Yes. And so he did carnivore diet for years, and so I was
he did
looking at a lot of things that
he did pure carnivore, not carnivore based. I'm carnivore based, but not pure carnivore.
And so I was studying that and listening to a lot of things he was saying, and it was cool because there are certain perks and aspects to it, but ultimately, like it was tempting because in my head, I think I talked about a lot, last podcast is like I like being really, really strict with the diet and where you're like, oh, I have to prepare meat and that's it. Like, whew, talk about easy. Like, I'd love that. But after really looking into it, like, although there could be perks, I mean, in terms of like getting leaner and testosterone and stuff like that. But in terms of like joint health and even muscle recovery, there's a lot of things around that where carbohydrates are kind of useful. So I'm ultimately deciding not to, but I think having essentially a carnivore-based diet, I see benefits of that for sure.
Dude, carnivore-based diet is the shit. I would never go full carnivore. Carnivore-based diet is like 80% meat, 20% fruits, and then some grains. And I see the most optimal growth and energy-wise from it. Like I feel amazing when I get like my pound and a half, 2 pounds of beef, and then I have my fruits, my strawberries, my blueberries, my grain, which I just do like brown rice, and then I cook it in like bone broth so I get all of my aminos. And then I'll take my vitamin pack and like, dude, I feel amazing. I feel so good. And my recovery time is insane. So it's good. I would never recommend going full carnivore though, because you need carbohydrates. Like you do need them. It can be difficult. Like I've done full carnivore, I've done it just to shred down as fast as possible because it's nuts how fast your body will shred to like 7% body fat is insane. Like you could do it from 10 to 7. You could probably do it in less than like 3 weeks, probably 2, honestly. Like it's fast. It's aggressive if you're doing your cardio and everything.
But do you think you lose muscle with that though?
You do. I've done full cardio.
I mean, you always lose amount of muscle. The goal is to lose the least amount, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that would be not as effective.
Yeah. Well, it's different because when I was full carnivore, or I'd say like really strict carnivore base where I was like 90% meat and like 10% just grain, I was training full body every day. Like, and that was crazy. Like, that was nuts. And I always had energy to train, which was weird. That was really weird to me. But the strength-wise was not there. Like, I was not as strong. But I could train for an hour, 2 hours every day. Nonstop.
So, let's go back there. I never understood the full body every day.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I'm organized, right? So to me, I have 16 muscle groups that I hit.
Yeah.
And
You don't hit
16? No, 12 muscle groups that I organize my whole workout into. And so I work out 6 days a week. I hit 4, 4, 4, and then I repeat those the next 3 days, 4, 4, 4. And that's how I hit my workout. But I just don't understand, like, how are you hitting 12 muscle groups in a single day? I just don't understand that.
So it's not what you think. When you hear full body every day, you're like, that is crazy. So let me explain that, because it sounds nuts. It's like you hear that and you're like, that's stupid. Okay. So you have your different muscle groups, which for me, I would categorize it as like arms is a muscle group, and that can be biceps, triceps, forearms. Like there's different things that go into that. And then there's like chest, back, abs, legs. And like the way I did it is you would pick one workout for the muscle group. So if you're doing arms, you're not doing like biceps and, well, like you could do like forearms essentially every day. But for legs, if I'm doing one leg workout, it would be squat. And I wouldn't do like deadlifts after that. I wouldn't do like leg extensions. I'd only do squat one day. And the next day I would do like leg extensions. And the next day, I always did calf raises, like calf raises every single day, just because like got bitch ass calves, so it's like why not? And they never really get like too sore, so but like I would do different leg workouts every single day. So you wouldn't do like squats, then leg extensions, and then like hamstring. Like you wouldn't do them all in one day. You would just pick one leg workout. You would do that. You'd have your sets of like squats or whatever, or your sets of like leg extensions, whatever you chose for that one day, and you would focus in on that one thing. And then you would move to the arms, and you would do, let's say, bicep curls, and you would do your bicep curls, and then you would choose your back workout, maybe like rear pec deck, whatever it was, or lat pull downs. You'd pick your like back, and you would do your back workout, and you would just do one thing for each muscle group every day, but it would change every single day. So next day so say you did incline for chest one day. The next day you would do flat. And then the next day after that you would do decline or dips. And so you'd always be hitting a different section of whatever that muscle group was, but you'd be hitting essentially every muscle group every single day. And so you'd always get a slutty pump, which was nice. Physique wise, I've never looked better. I looked so good.
Essentially, it is not full body every day then.
I mean,
because, well, like for example, you could look as the shoulders as 3 different muscle groups, right? And so one day maybe you're hitting front delts, as the next day you're hitting side delts, and so you're essentially, it's not a full body because you're missing the front delt day, you're missing the rear delts and the.
But the premise of the full body is you're going like either bottom up or top down. Like you're hitting.
But I do worry with that muscles will be forgotten, because you have to be really active and engaged, being like, okay, I hit that muscle, now I have to hit this muscle. I feel like, me personally, if I did that, I would have to have it organized. Like I would be like, okay, I'm going to hit this part of the shoulder, this part of the legs, this part of the thing, and the next day I'm going to hit this part. And I would literally have it probably written out on an Excel sheet, like, because that's who I am. And I wouldn't want to miss out on any muscle. But I do worry for like people who may do full body that they wouldn't actively engage, because I mean, you have several different parts of every different part of your body.
You have to write muscles. It down. Yeah, you 100% have to have them all written down, or else you'll miss them. And that's the thing, though, is like I did have it all written down every day. Like I had it, and I would tweak my workout every day. Every single day that I would train, I'd like have it written down and be like, all right, we're going to change this up today. Like, I know I did this for rear delts last week, but I'm going to do this for rear delts this week. And you do have to be super consistent with knowing all of the muscle groups, and you'll feel it too. Like you'll know which ones are sore. You'll be like, shit, like I can't touch that part of the bicep. But like you'll do your hammer curls one day, you'll do your normal curls like the next day, you'll do your reverse grips like the following after that, and like you can just hit everything. But yeah, then the tricep, there's 3 different heads, and so you just move through those day after day. It's good, dude. It's
so
different.
are you still doing that?
No.
Okay.
No,
What's your split now then?
I'm on the classic, like I would say, bro split now, kind of.
Oh no,
Um, I
not the bro split.
I know.
Uh,
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like it. I
mm,
want to go back because when I was doing the full body every day, I was counting everything in hundreds. So 100 reps, whatever the fuck I was doing. And so most days I would be hitting like 800 to 1,000 reps of the full body, and it'd be different, you know? And some days it was less, but I loved it. I loved counting in hundreds because that's when I saw, I would say, the most growth. Like the pictures that I've got that people are like, dude, there's no way you're natty. Like that's when I was training full body. And I'm like, yeah, like thanks, motherfuckers. Because it feels good, you
mm.
know. But yeah, I'm thinking of going back to full body. If not, going back to just counting everything in hundreds because it's the best feeling in the world,
What do you
honestly.
mean counting everything in hundreds? I feel like you explained this, but I forgot.
Hmm. So whatever you're doing, so bicep curls, if you're going to be doing curls, you have to do at least 100 reps. If you're doing squats, you have to do at least 100 reps total. So you'll do 15 reps and then 15. You just keep going until you get 100 reps of whatever the hell you're doing. Count everything
But
100.
what's the goal with that? Because in my head, it all depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I was strength training, I mean, doing 100 reps strength training seems ineffective and counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
As in, maybe hypertrophy training would be effective with that. Endurance training, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but
I would say more hypertrophy and endurance. Um, just because like you know you're putting the work into the muscle. Like you're making sure that it is really getting worked. Because like I'm doing the classic like bro split right now and I'm not counting everything. And so like I'll work a muscle, but I won't really, really work a muscle. When I'm doing the hundreds, when I'm counting everything by the hundreds, like I'm putting in work on that muscle and it hurts. Like I am in physical pain. And I get that feeling of like, all right, I'm here to suffer. And that's my like ultimate goal in the gym. It's like I'm here to suffer. Like I want to suffer. I want to feel the pain. And so counting in hundreds, I got that from Alex Ramosi. I don't know if he still does it, but I remember seeing a video. He was talking just about business and everything. He's like, if you're not counting in hundreds, like you're falling behind everybody else. Like if you're not making 100 sales calls, you're losing. Like if you're not doing 100 reps, like you're not seeing any growth. The moment you do 100 reps, that's when you see growth happen. Um, and that's with anything. You do 100 reps of learning a language or whatever it is. Like you're doing 100 reps of whatever it is, you're gonna know that thing really well, and you're gonna be good at it, and that's where you're gonna see the growth. So when training, it's like 100 reps. It sounds like a lot, um, but when you do it, that's where I saw the best amount of like physical growth. The hypertrophy wise, like I was the biggest I've ever been. Not heaviest, but like muscle size wise, like the shred, everything that like I wanted to see in myself, I'm like, there it is in the 100 reps. So,
that's it's kind of funny because I just in the blog that I'm starting, I literally made a post titled "The Rule of 100."
really?
That exact concept, yeah. Let's do something 100 times, and essentially you will see results.
Mm-hmm.
But do it less than 100, and you can't expect any results. So
Mm-hmm.
don't expect anything until you hit the 100. That's pretty much the whole fact behind it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of funny.
It's honestly for anybody starting in the gym, I mean, that would be my recommendation with anything. Like, if you're going to want to learn how to squat properly, do 100 reps with just the bar. You'll be squatting properly after that. Like, you'll know exactly your movement. Like, you'll know exactly how to move. And I truly like on the bro split right now. Like I'm doing, I don't know. I don't really count my shit now, which is a problem. Like I feel like if you're not counting to 100, you're not. I just feel like you'll end up doing less than what you need to be doing to grow. And like right now, I'm seeing growth, but with how many calories I'm eating, I should be seeing more growth. And it's because I'm not counting to 100. I'm counting to like 65, maybe 80. And I'm like, all right, next workout, fuck it.
Well, I think it exists in intensity.
Mm,
That's where I think the most effective idea that you could push in the gym is intensity. I mean, regardless to what goal you want to reach. And if you aren't, I think the 100 pushes you to that intensity if that's a rule you want to go by.
mm,
But I think there's various ways you could reach it.
mm,
But since I think I'm guilty of it, like for most of my time in the gym, throughout my life, people get in the motion. How many times do you see people there and they're just,
mm,
and you don't see them working hard. You don't see them, and that's what I'm starting to tell people is like, if you're not screaming, if you're not grunting, like if I don't see sweat, like you're not going hard enough. I need to be seeing signs that you're putting in the effort. And so I think that's the biggest thing is intensity when it comes to the gym. And majority of people they don't got it,
mm,
unfortunately. And I mean, like I said, I've been guilty of it for years, and I lacked uh, opportunity of results because of it.
mm. Well, when you're actually counting to 100, say you're doing chest and you've got 3 workouts for chest. If you were actually, like, when I'm on my phone counting to 100, because I'll write down my workouts and I'll have my check marks next to them, and I can't check them off until I count all the way to 100 reps. So I'll do my first set, say of bicep curls, I'll do like 15 reps and I put 15 down and then I put a comma, and then like I'll do another set of 15, maybe 20, whatever it is, and then I'll do another set. And until I get 100, I cannot check off those bicep curls. And like when you put in that 100, you really, really feel it afterwards. You'll be at like 80 and you'll see the threshold at where you typically stopped. You'll be like, okay, like I want to move on to my next workout, but I got 20 more reps. And you'll do like 10 and you'll be like, fuck, like this hurts and I'm really sweating now. Like I'm really suffering now. And you're like, I got another 10 to do. And I would have dipped out like the last 10. Let's do another 10. And that last 10, I'd say the last 15 reps, last 10 to 15 reps, you were incredibly focused. Like that's where the intensity really hits. You're like, I've only got 10 left. And like, because when you're not counting, you're like, I'm going to do this workout until I kind of like feel it and then I'm going to move on. Whereas like if you're counting to 100, you're like, I have 10 left. I better make these fucking count. Like, I better like really, really push these 10 or these 5. Like, say you get to 95 and you're like, I've got 5 reps left. Shit, like I didn't calculate. Like my last set, I did 15 and now I only have 5 left to do my 100. Let's make this 5 like really, really count. And so like you'll go super slow on those 5. Just be like, it's the end of the bicep curls. Might as well make it really, really fucking work. And so when you're counting in hundreds, you do see that growth. Whereas like if you're not doing 100, you'll typically just stop where like you start kind of feeling, oh, I've warmed up the muscle, might as well move on to something else. And you don't really get that full like work in the growth like actually happening. So that's the rule of
Kind of
100.
reminds me of like when we did our 1,000 sit
Yeah.
up or 1,000 push up challenge. Is just the mental game, and it also like comes down to like when I tell people, like in terms of bulking and cutting, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just like bulking, you're eating more than your maintenance is, so you're pushing beyond comfort, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
same with cut is you're eating less, and so you're gonna be hungry,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's just anything besides that is, so it's just like you got to push past that point. And it's the same with the workout. Is the only point of growing is past that point of comfort, and
Mm-hmm.
that's normally when people give up, like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the rule of hundreds, is just moving past that threshold of comfort, like pushing beyond it. Because I'd say the majority of people are comfortable with like 20 or 30 reps and they don't realize it. And when they maybe do more, they maybe do a little bit more. And maybe some guys who are super consistent for like 5+ years in the gym, their comfort range is like the 80 reps total. And if they were to push to 100, they'd be like, wow, that's different. Like, that's painful. Holy shit. And I don't know, the rule of hundreds in the gym to me is where I saw, like, honestly, now I've convinced myself I'm going back to the hundreds. Like, I'm going back to the hundreds, maybe not full body, but you know what? Fuck it, man. I'll do the full body again. I don't give a shit. I'll maintain the slight bulk and I'm going to go back to full body every day. Like, that's where I saw the most growth. I'll probably have my set days for legs, like my days it's just legs, but I think I'm going to go back to full body because that is where I saw the most growth. I'm not going to do full body strict carnivore diet. I'm going to do full body carnivore based. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to switch to it. Right now, we're switching. Fuck it.
All right. Well, one thing that I've been in terms of hypertrophy, it's kind of funny because I like most of my life I've been endurance-based training, especially with the calisthenics. And then strength training, I feel like isn't too complicated either. You know, it's just training, heavy weight, low reps, and trying to push up that get a progressive overload. But hypertrophy training is just a different ballgame because there's just so many. It's just literally just like implementing a bunch of tips and tricks to try to get the muscle to grow, big and fast. And so I've been doing a lot of things, but going to failure is just a crazy one that I've been implementing on almost every set, honestly. And it's a mind game too. It's just 'cause people don't like. It's funny training someone to go to failure. It's because they just don't know how to do it. It's just like, oh, your rep's gonna slowly like go down. It's like, yeah, like if you're truly pushing it, and it literally takes a while to accustom to that, to get your body to like actually go all the way until it can't move anymore. And one workout that I don't know, I kind of invented. It's literally I took my endurance-based push-up workout, so it's 9 sets of different variations of push-ups, and I literally just made them 5-second up, 5-second down push-ups. And it is probably the most crazy workout I've ever done. I call it push through hell.
Sounds
But
like it.
and that's a different ballgame of going to failure, because when you're going to failure on push-ups, like it's a different ballgame because your body is just like, what's going on? And you're like, you like can't go anymore. It's insane.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of different types of intensities you could implement and do, especially when it comes in terms of hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy training is interesting because even when I took the NASM course, I didn't take all of the actual like mathematical reasonings and like setup for hypertrophy until way later when I like talked to other people in the gym. I remember I like took my NASM and I was like, oh wow, like that's all this information, it's so cool, so crazy. And I was at this gym in Boise one time, and I saw this guy with his timer on his phone, his stopwatch out, and he would do his workout and he would start his stopwatch. And I like, this dude was huge, he was jacked, right? And I was working out and I was watching him, and he kept doing it. In between each set, he would immediately turn on his stopwatch, and he would chill, and he'd be watching his stopwatch, watching it, and then he would do his next set, and then he would reset his stopwatch and start it. I watch him, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I finally walked up to him, and I was like, bro, what's the reasoning with the stopwatch on your phone? And he's like, oh, I took my NASM course a year ago. And I was like, oh, dude, I took mine as well. And he was like, he's like, I've been following exactly what it says for everything. He's like, and I've seen he's like, I'm following exactly what it says for hypertrophy, and I've seen the most growth I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's a minute to a minute and a half of rest in between each set for hypertrophy. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I only allow myself a minute to a minute and a half. That's what the stopwatch is for. And I was like, oh, what the hell? He's like, yeah, so I time it exactly. He's like, dude, it's amazing. And I was like, that's interesting. He's like, because it only allows for a specific threshold of ATP to be restored, and then you immediately get back into the workout, into your next set. And I was like, weird, okay. He's like, a lot of people, they don't give themselves enough time, or they give themselves too much time. It's like some people will do 30 seconds and then they'll start the next rep because they're bored. They're like, I gotta do it. And they'll immediately jump in, and they can't go with the same level of intensity. Or they do too much time and they start feeling sluggish, right? And he's like, that's for strength training. Like strength training, trying to do more weight, you want to be moving up but giving yourself 3 to 5 minutes of rest in between. And I was like, I should try this. He's like, do it, dude. Best results I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, okay. And so now I like time myself in between each set for hypertrophy. And it's weird, but it works. Because I think it's like 80% of your ATP is restored in that minute and a half. And it's weird. It's really weird. But I don't know if it's something he also talked about the movement. He's like, it's 2 seconds up, 0 seconds hold, 2 seconds down. And I was like, yeah. He's like, have you ever tried it? And I was like, I mean, kind of. He was like, try it. And he had me do like a cable curl. And I started, he's like, you're going too fast. And I was like, ugh. He's like, slow down. So I slowed it to 1, 2, 1, 2. And he's like, stick with your normal rep range, 12 reps, keep going. And like, I got to 12 and like, I got a slutty pump in my biceps. So I was like, damn. He's like, give yourself a minute and a half. And I gave myself a minute and a half and I did it again. 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down. And dude, craziest pump. And I was like, wow. He's like, if you actually follow the mathematical formula they give you, it works. And I was like, oh, shit. I took my course and I didn't actually apply it. Like, what the hell? And if you follow those, like, which the longer you go, so you're 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down, that's even better. That incorporates more intensity. So technically, like, you're just adding more intensity to hypertrophy. You're still hitting hypertrophy, but you're hitting it at like a 2.5x. So like you're getting more results by slowing it down, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah. In terms of rest, I mean, I see people time it, but I feel like timing gets complicated unless you know exactly what you're going for. Because there's some people like I know someone, he'll just do 2 minutes every time, and it's like, okay, why are you doing 2 minutes? And he's like, well, I don't know, just do 2 minutes. So timing can be useful, but and that's why they say like a minute to a minute and a half, right? It's because it varies depending on the person. So me myself, I kind of just feel it out in my body in the second like my respiratory has recovered. Like your muscles are never going to be ready for another set like early, but once your respiratory is recovered, that's when I dive into it. But in terms of hypertrophy, like, yeah, I love to do like 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. I've done that with a lot of leg stuff too, like leg extension and leg curl. But there's a lot of recent studies that are showing how the slowed and controlled eccentric is like extremely important, even way more so than the concentric. So a lot of my workouts have been explosive concentric and slowed eccentric. And even with the explosive concentric, I mean, it's not like you're doing them in like, the problem with when it comes to hypertrophy is people like, at least, so for example, with the curl, like they'll just let the weight drop. It's that control on the way down. And then so, yeah, 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down. I think that's, yeah, a prime goal for hypertrophy. But obviously, I think playing with it in different tempos and doing all sorts of different things, and it just like varying your workout, I think it has benefits. The same type of deal as just mix things up. Do 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down every once in a while, and do explosive up and slow down. You know, just I think it's good to mix it up and shock the muscle, and that's how you stay sore, and that's how you stay growing, from what I've seen.
Yeah. Recently, I saw this video. I think it was Mike Metz, somebody who was pretty big in the bodybuilding industry in like the 70s and 80s. And he talks about how lower rep range for upper body and higher rep range for lower body to maximize growth. And he talks about how he used to take his clients, he would have them do just one set on legs. You only get one. And this is where they saw the most growth in their legs. He's like, but you do a weight that you're comfortable with, but you're not doing 10 reps. You're doing like 30 to 50 to all the way to 100. And you like really maximize it. And it's something that I've started incorporating into my leg workouts. It's not like I'll just do one set. I'll work my squat up to like my 300 or my max, whatever. And then I'll go down to whatever it is. So like this last week, I tried it out where I just had a plate on either side. So 45 on either side. And I was like, I'm going to hit 35 reps. And it's the same thing as like the push-ups. you get to like rep 16 and you want to rack that bar. You're like, shit, my legs hurt. You get to rep 20 and you're like, I think I'm gonna die. And you hit 25 and you're like, I feel like I'm gonna die. You hit 30 and you're like, there's the finish line. I'm sweating so bad right now. Like I'm just pouring off of my face. And you get to 35, you re-rack it and you drop to the floor and you're like, shit, that was good. And I mean, I've done this with biceps and like other workouts and stuff like that, but when you do it with legs, dude, it's crazy. It's nuts. And so it's might be something you, I mean, could try. It's something I've started doing and I've seen the most like strength growth in my legs so far. And it's fast growth. Like it is really, really fast. So like I had that week where I was hitting the 315 on squat for the 6 reps. And the following week I was able to do the 365 and I was like, ooh, okay, like this is interesting. And I think it's because of that Mike Menser philosophy. I think that's his name. I'm pretty sure that's his name. I'm not 100% sure. I may have fucked up his last name, but
Yeah, I have no idea who you're talking about.
you have to try it out. We'll see. I was actually going to ask you something else along the lines of the 100. So somebody sent me this video. I'd say 2 weeks ago, and it's Steve Harvey, and it was really interesting. And because they had talked about it on their story, and I was like, "What is this 300 thing? What do you mean?" And I thought this was brilliant, and they explained it to me. You write 300 things. You make a list of 300 things you want out of life, or you want from God, or want from the universe. Just write 300 things. Like, I want to make X amount of money. Like, I want my passport. I want to travel. Wherever. You write 300 things. And you put that away and you read it to yourself as often as you can. And after a year, you go back on that list and you see how many you can cross off. And the person who sent it to me, they're like, dude, the most fulfillment I've ever had in my entire life. And they crossed off 115 of these things in a year. And I was like, that's a lot of things to cross off a list of 300 things that you want from life. And I thought about it and I was like, maybe that's something we should do. Like, write 300 things down and see how many you can cross off in a year. I think it'd be crazy. Because if you cross
I feel like I'm simple. I'm a simple man.
You are.
I feel like mine would be like no more than 5 things, and like they're big things, but like that's literally like, I don't know. I'm not like, I don't do small pleasures. I'm not a small pleasure type of guy. Just like I don't care about money, honestly. Like sure, like having a career that would bring, a good amount of income in the long road, like, but like honestly, like money, like possession of items, like, so where it comes down to big goals is just like literally I probably wouldn't have more than 5 things on that list. But they're like big overall goals, so maybe I can make small things out of all those things. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like you could, because I tried to start, dude, and it's taken me so long just to get to 100, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like your brain stops after like, I'd say 75. Your brain's like, what the fuck do I write? Like, but it's funny what comes out, because like for me it was like, get my passport, or like learn Mandarin fluently. Like just different things that you want to do. Do this many hikes in 1 year. Read 50 books in 1 year. Like different goals that you like, just 300 things. And it sounds like a lot, but I've been thinking about it quite a bit recently. And a lot of people don't do enough in a year. Like they do the same thing every single fucking day for the rest of their life. And like, what do we consider fulfillment? Like fulfillment is like I said, like earlier before, like where do we want to travel to? Like I want mass exposure across the world. Like I want to see the world. That would be fulfilling, right? Seeing as many places as possible. When you think of foods, like try more foods, that would be fulfilling. Like try different foods that maybe I'm scared of. Like that would be really fulfilling. And I feel like a lot of people just live a very like specific, I eat the same thing, whatever. I don't do a lot of stuff. I don't travel a lot. I just do the same thing. And if you have 300 things that your mind is just kind of wandering on for the year, you would find so much more fulfillment. You would find so many different things. Like this person that had sent it to me, they wanted to try dancing. They wanted to dance, and now they like attend a dance class on the weekends. And I thought it was interesting. I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah, I think it would have to be like you could literally just do it once. I think that would have to be everything on the list, right? It's like go skydiving or read this book or like go snowboarding. I think everything would have to be something where you could like look at it one day and it's like, I'm gonna do that today. I feel like that would make the list good. You know, try this. You know, go try take a dancing class. Like, you know, I think that would have to be the list. And that, yeah, I kind of like the idea because then it requires you to. I mean, yeah, you just gotta wake up one day and just like I'm gonna choose something off this list, and then go do that list, and then you've done something, and it's probably cool, something that's worth it. So it's cool. I definitely couldn't. Yeah, I don't think I could come up with 300 and
That's the thing, is your brain really starts
give me a
moving.
year. I can't even come up with 10. Maybe I don't know, but
Well, like you don't have to hit all 300. The goal is just to make a list of 300, and then after a year, just start crossing things off. Just look at the list after a year, after you've read it to yourself months and months on end, and like, wait, what can I cross off? And you look at it and be like, oh shit. Yeah, this friend, she like made this list, and then after a year, she looked at it. She's like, yeah, I only crossed like 5 things off, and I was like, really? And they didn't message back for a couple of days, and they're like, actually, I just looked at it. I crossed off 115 things. I was like, holy shit. And I thought about it. I was like, I've got to do this. Like, I have to try this. This is crazy. Like 115 things that you never thought you'd do that you did in a year. That'd be crazy.
the hardest thing for me personally is I don't like doing things alone. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a lone wolf. I like doing things with people. And
Mm-hmm.
so where my biggest thing of stopping me doing most things is the requirement of me doing them alone. And so that's probably what would stop me on most of the list. Just like, I want to do this, but I don't want to go do that alone. So
You could write it like, go, snowboarding with a friend. You could write a lot of those things with people.
yeah, it's true.
Might be something you could, I don't know, just a thought experiment.
I'll try it out. I'll try making a list, I guess.
Do 100 or do 200. Just
Oof. I'll start with 25.
25, not good enough. There's a lot of things that we want to do, that we have goals, like books we want to read, right? Like, you and I are supposed to be reading 50 books a year. We're not, but we should be. We should be reading 50 books a year, right? So there's 50 things. Like, if you could come up with 50 books or 25 books a year, like, I need to read this year, right? I gotta read these. If I don't, like, I'm gonna be mad at myself. There's 50 things. And then the high school reunion. You have to go. Write that down. Or you could write, get your first online personal training client, right? Just little things that would push you into something that you really like. Get 20 hours of studying, I don't know. Something, I don't know, anything. I'm just trying to compile my list as of this last like 2 weeks, and it is difficult getting to 300. You're like, shit, there's so many different things, and then afterwards you're like, what? I run out of things to like write down, and so you have to start thinking really big. That's what it does, is it forces you to start thinking like really big. Like how big could I go? If I was just to write it down. Like as crazy as it is. Like this is kind of a crazy goal, but I'll just put it down for funsies. Because you never know. And to me it ties back to this quote. How do you expect to get what you want if you don't even ask the universe for it? Like, if you can't ask the universe for the thing that you want, how do you expect to get it? Like in your head, you're like, oh, it'd be nice to travel to Europe. If you don't write it down, You're like, hey, I want to travel to Europe. And you start rating it. How do you, like, you can't expect to actually go unless you write it down. And you look at it and you're like, this is what I want from the universe. Give me. So, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought experiment. Never know. Homeboy and I could be passport bros in a year traveling to 12 different countries.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing.
It's different.
Something to do, for sure.
It follows the rule of hundreds. Think of it like reps. Gotta get your hundreds in.
I think it requires you to think outside yourself. I think,
Mm-hmm.
like it's becoming someone you want to become,
Mm-hmm.
because in I'm reading Think and Grow Rich right now, and I just finished a chapter on imagination.
Yes.
And so to become a person, you have to become that person in your head at first.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's kind of an interesting idea. It's just I think all kind of have an idea of who we want to be in our head. There's kind of a figment of that person, but we have to like severely develop this person in our heads. We can't just say, oh yeah, it's a nice guy that does good things. Whereas say this guy does this and this and this and this, and these are his strong characters. And like when he goes up to a new person, this is what he does. And like when he goes into an old person, this is what he does. And so the more you develop that person in your head, the more easier it's going to be to become that person. And so I think, yeah, and the lines of that list is just you're picking apart certain things. Like, what does that guy do? What are some of the things this guy in my head does? And it helps you develop that character. That's kind of what's going through my head.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was from Think and Grow Rich, but it reminds me of this. Maybe it was. I don't know. You write down the characteristics of like your millionaire self or your billionaire self. Like, what does that person do? And I can't remember if it was like 15 things or 10 things and skills or something, but if you just describe that person as best as you can, what do they wear? Like, what languages do they speak? Like, how do they walk? How do they talk? So, yeah, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't write 300 things that person has to be, because then I feel like I'd never be able to reach that goal. But maybe 300 things that I want to do, and then like, dude, Think and Grow Rich is honestly one of the best books. I'm so glad that you're reading that one. That's a banger of a book, dude.
It is interesting. I mean, the ideas in it are brilliant, of course. But in terms of me, it's just like my goal isn't money, and that's the whole purpose of the book is money. And so definitely applying the concepts and everything, because the concepts in it are genius and apply to anything in life. But it is interesting reading it. It's just like you got to picture the money and all that. It's like I don't want the money, but I want other things that I could apply the same concepts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, because people look at me as like, don't you want to be rich? It's like, it'd be cool, sure, but it's just like it's not my main goal. I want to be doing what I love doing,
Yeah,
and with who I love doing things with, and that's literally my goal in life. So
yeah. Well, that's ultimate freedom. Yeah, and that's completely fine. That's something I've learned over this last year. Is like the ultimate goals for everybody is different. Like for one person, it's money. For another person, it's like ultimate goal would just be freedom from a specific thing or liberation from a specific thing. And majority of people, it's freedom of time. Like freedom of time to do whatever they want. Like they'd like to be free to travel the world without worrying about anything. Or freedom of time to spend with friends without worrying about anything. And I mean, a lot of that does tie back to monetary, but for a lot of people, it's like, I don't want that dynasty wealth. Like, I just want to be comfortable and I want to be able to do the things I want to do. So it doesn't have, like you said, it's not money for you, and that's completely okay. People like me, it's like, I want that dynasty wealth. Like, I want to buy an island. Like, so That's different though. Everybody's ultimate goals are different, and that's completely normal. That's fine. And never let people try to pressure you into like that has to be the ultimate goal, or else you're not. Yeah, because everybody's got their different things that they want out of life, like languages they want to learn, places they want to travel to, money they want to earn. Like it's all different. It's all different. It's just having the goals is the most important thing. If you don't have the goals, then that's the problem. Like that's where the problem lies. It's like if you don't have anything you really want to do, that's bad. Money, that's different. Some people, they're like, I could have all of the free time in the world to do whatever I want with 100,000 a year. And that's good. Having that goal, like I want freedom to travel, to be a personal trainer online, and I want to be able to go wherever I want. That's a good goal.
Sure.
Some people, it's like, we've got friends that are in our hometown that we were just talking about working at fucking Starbucks that don't have any goddamn goals. They're just like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna make this coffee, and I'm never gonna leave my hometown and have sex. That's the problem.
Well, here's one thing that's been on my mind is see, at work, someone was posing a question. Is just like, what would you do for $1 million, right? And it's just really bothersome to me because some of the things people are willing to do for that money is just like that's completely contrary to their character, to their morale, to their everything about them. They're willing to do all sorts of crazy and random things for $1 million, and it bugs me. It's just the power that money has, and just how people how easy it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, $1 million is a lot of money, but essentially how easy it is for someone to just completely destroy their character for something that I don't see. Like don't get me wrong, like $1 million is nice, but it's essentially not giving you true value, and it bothers me how people are just willing to do anything and everything for that money, and it's drifters, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of this interview that Dan Bilzerian did, and they were asking him. They were like, you're worth 350 or whatever $1 million. Like, what makes you happy? What's the end goal? Like, you've got all this money. He's like, honestly, like money doesn't make me happy. He's like, a lot of people, like, you give them a pay raise of $100,000 to $200,000, like they're gonna be happy for a moment. He's like, but like, I bought a Ferrari and I wasn't happy for more than 24 hours. Like, I put 100 miles on that thing in a year, and like I sold it the next. I didn't give a shit about that thing. Like, after a certain threshold, like money doesn't actually make you happy. It may give you pleasure for a certain amount of time, but it doesn't actually make you happy. And they're like, well, then what brings you happiness? He's like, honestly, it's cliche as shit, but like the free things in life are what make me happy. Like going surfing makes me happy. He's like, hanging with my bros, like that makes me happy. He's like, it's the stuff that's like completely free that actually like makes me happy. He's like, doesn't cost any money to hang with my bros. It's like going surfing doesn't cost me any money. And like, it's the one thing that makes me happy. And I think that's like the most important lesson is like, I do watch a lot of people give up. Like, I have family members that I feel like have given up their entire life for money. And where they're at monetarily right now, they could give up their work and have the freedom to be with the people they want to be around, and they'd be happy, but they're not happy. And they're like selling their entire life for monetary goals. And it's like, dude, you're good. Like, technically you've made it. What do you actually want? And like, for other people like me, I won't lie, like my monetary goals are through the fucking roof. They're crazy. Like I'm looking for that dynasty style house, man. And I wouldn't, but the thing is, I wouldn't sell my soul for it. And that's another thing. It's like, you can't be, like you said, you can't be willing to sell your soul for $1 million. And it's like, no, I wouldn't. Like, for $1 million, I'd sell a product, depending on the product, if I believed in it for an extended period of time. But I'm not going to sell a product that I don't believe in. I'm not going to sell something that like corrupts the mind. I wouldn't do that for $1 million. Like, it's not worth it. So you do have to have a line. You do have to be like, I want to make that money, but I want to make it doing something I love. It's like, Yes, I have big goals. Yes, I want to buy an entire island one day, but I'm not going to sell my soul to do it. Like, I'm not going to sell my integrity to do it. I don't. I'd rather die doing other things that I love doing, surfing, all that kind of stuff, than, like, if I had a choice, sell my soul, make $1 billion, or, make 100,000 for the rest of my life and be surfing. Like, I'd pick the surfing. I'll be honest.
Well, it's interesting to think about because I put myself through these things, and you know, I like to be strong physically,
Mhm.
but I think there is a true strength. And you think about it, someone comes up to you with $1 million, and think about what you would do for that. If they said, "You do this, I'll give you this $1 million," and like, what would you do? And I think it's an important question to ask. I put myself through that question, and I put myself through, like, a beautiful, beautiful girl comes up to you, 10 out of 10, and says, for you to be with me, would you do, like, what would you do essentially? And what would you do? And it's a scary thought to me, but I think that's honestly where true strength is and lies in those kind of questions. Is, what would you do for these certain essentially weaknesses, and do you have the strength to resist them
Mhm.
and stand true to who you are, and not sell your soul to these things, and I think that's where true strength comes in. And I put myself through these scenarios because I like to think I would have strength to resist these things. But unfortunately, we never know unless the opportunity truly presents itself, which is unlikely it will. But in small variations, I think they come up every day in our lives. When it comes to greed and lust, like, are we selling our souls to these things? And I think a lot of people are, and they aren't staying true to who they are in that imaginary person they want to be in their head. Like, would that person do this, give into this lust? Would that person give into this money and work overtime, and when they could be spending time doing what they love or with their family?
Mhm.
So I think that's, yeah.
It ties into the concept of the girl in the red dress from The Matrix, where he's like, "Were you paying attention to me, or were you paying attention to the girl in the red dress?" And Neo's like, and he's like, "Look again." And he turns around, and the girl in the red dress is now an agent pointing a gun at his head. It's like, sometimes these opportunities, or these things, these things that we lust after, they seem good in the moment. And this is something I've learned the hard way throughout my youthful years. You watched me. Like, I saw all of these moments of the girl in the red dress, the bad things, the high experience. And like, I had to learn firsthand that those things that seemed like they were fun in the moment cost me my life if I wasn't careful. And that's a lot of these things. And so, like, people talk about it too. Like, if a dime piece walked up to you and was like, "Oh, like, I'd be with you, but you've got to give up your world or whatever, your life." And it's like, I wouldn't give up my peace. I wouldn't give up my sanity. And if you talked to a younger version of me, maybe he would have. But now, like, I understand the concept of the girl in the red dress. I understand how painful that bullet is, like, when you take it. And it's not worth it. And I think most men have to learn the hard way. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. They have to, like, accept that shitty opportunity, accept that, like, girl in the red dress, find out that it is the agent pointing a gun at their head and killing them, essentially. Like, selling their soul for something that's not worth it. And they're like, shit, that wasn't worth it. That sucked. And
Yeah.
it lies in all of the little things in life. It's that pleasure versus, like, joy thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'd like that quick pleasure, and then they get it, they're like, damn, I feel like shit now. And it's like, the $1 million, you'd think that you're like, yeah, some people are like, I'd do anything for $1 million. And then they do that anything that the person was like, oh, would you do this? And like, yeah, I'd do it. And then if they would do it, it's like, you see what's on the other side. Was it worth it? That's the
Yeah,
thing.
like I said, I think if they would do it, they already are doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in minor details of everyday life.
Well,
So
and it's the same thing with, like, a lot of different things. And I think the girl in the red dress comes in a lot of different forms in our life. comes in alcoholism, it comes in drugs, comes in pornography, comes in women, like, and it's the concept of value. And the way I look at it now is I want $1 billion. I do. Okay. I want 3.5 billion is what I want. That doesn't mean I have to say yes to 3.5 billion things. That means I have to say no to 3.5 billion things. That's the thing, is people think, oh, I want to make the money. I have to say yes to every opportunity. Wrong. That's how you put yourself in the ground. If you want that 3.5 billion, you have to say no 3.5 billion times to the girl in the red dress. Every exciting high, every pleasure, you have to be willing to say no to it. And I think Warren Buffett says, I think he was the one who said it, is like, the sign of a successful man is not the amount he says yes to things. A sign of a successful man, I'm going to brutalize it, but it's the amount of times he can say no. It's like when people are like, hey, like, come out and drink. No. Like, hey, like, I'm interested. It's like, no. Like, hey, we've got this great money opportunity, whatever. No, I'm focused. Like, it's the amount of times you can say no to the girl in the red dress is what gets you to that. And that's the way I see it now. Before, when I was a kid, it's like, I got to do it all to get there. And now it's like, no, I've got to say no as many times as possible and stay focused on the thing that I know that it's going to get me there. Yeah, it's going to suck in the meantime. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to go out and drink with my friends or people that I thought were my friends. Like, that seemed fun in the moment during the time. It's like, oh, come drink, come, party, whatever. Come, hang out. It's like, no. It sucks. I don't get to hang out with you. I liked socializing. Let's be honest, I was a social whore back in the day. Like, I would give up anything to go socialize. Now it's like, no, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not going to drink. And that's something my girl asks me sometimes. Like, oh, like, what if they want to have a drink, It's like, I have to say no. I don't want the drink. I don't want the alcohol. I don't like how it feels. One drink, it's not worth it to me. It hurts the body. I don't like what it does. It resets. It takes my testosterone. It's a thief. Like, you look at these things, you're like, oh, I get to hang out with a family member or whatever, say hi. Like, hey, you want a drink? It's like, no. Like, oh, but, the social, no. I don't care. I'm after something. I'm after that 3.5 billion. And I'll say no as many times as it takes to get there. So, yes, people want the $1 million, but they're not going to get there. The actual million that lasts a long time, the things that last, like the joy that lasts, comes from saying no. So, sorry, I fucking ranted hard there.
Oh, that's good. I like the comparison of I was explaining injuries to my workout buddy. Because he really just doesn't want to injure himself. He's getting hard into lifting. I said, yeah, we never want to injure ourselves. But I told him injuries are like addictions. You injure yourself once, that injury is going to come back, right? And so it's best to never injure yourself. Do whatever you can to prevent that first time, because that first time will likely come back and haunt you. You could re-trigger an injury so easily. So, yeah, I thought it was a kind of funny comparison. It's just like, yeah, if you can, never drink that alcohol, never smoke that cigarette, because it just gets harder as after you hit it that first time. Just avoid that first time and it's easy.
Well, I also think there's a no muscle that you can train. Like, there was a time I was a straight up alcoholic for like a year and a half. I was raging alcoholic when I was like 20. And dude, now it's so hard for me to say yes because I've said no so many times. I've trained that no muscle so much. And people are like, please just one. I'm like, I can't, dude. I really can't. I don't want to. Because I think, and it's just, I'm so no. Like, same thing with chocolate, dude. I've said no to chocolate for 6 years. And like, at first I was slightly allergic. I was slightly allergic to chocolate. So I ate a shit ton of chocolate as a kid. And I was like, and then I started having slight allergic reactions. And I was like, I'm going to cut this off. And I'm going to cut this off for good. And I just started saying no, 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 no. And when I would have chocolate, like the allergic reaction would flare up. And sometimes it felt like, oh, it's worth it. It's kind of worth it. Tasted that chocolate. But then it got to a point where I was like, no, dude, it's not fucking worth it. Just say no. And every time people like there are women that I date throughout the years, they're like, "Oh, it's fine. Like you can deal with it. Like just take it like a Benadryl, or whatever." It's like, no, I don't want to have that experience. So no, I'm not going to do it. And you train that muscle so much that it's like now it's not a chance. Like not a fucking chance. And it's the same thing with alcohol. There's a muscle that you can, and it's the same thing with injuries. Like you got to train that muscle to say no to the stupid workout that's going to get you injured. Like we know not to be doing 1 rep maxes on specific workouts because you could fold yourself and injure yourself for good. Say no. Say no to that 1 rep max. Just do the 6 to 8. It's okay.
Yeah, it comes down to just having that big picture in mind always. Just know that at one time the potential risks and what it will actually bring. The problem is temptations and such always get in the way and they want you to take it, but you just keep that big picture in mind and train your no muscle. Yeah, I think be clean.
It's worth it. The no. Well, shoot, dude. Should we go over our goals?
I guess.
You guess?
Yeah, I guess.
Fine. What was your goal last time?
I've been maintaining the goal of like what did you call it when it comes to interactions and
Impact.
impact? Yeah. I've been keeping my goal in that area because that is my biggest goal area. And I think I'm going to keep it there. I mean, I have been talking to more people, especially in the gym and stuff. And it's both professional related and personal related because, I mean, as you talk to people, that's this life skill. And then also, and when it comes to me being a personal trainer, I mean, it gives me that excuse too, right? So I'm going to maintain that. I want to start just even keeping a note in my phone of people and their names and trying to build just like I think it's a cool idea. Like you say, you like a gym where just like everyone just like kind of is really friendly and knows each other and stuff. And I really like that idea. So that's something I kind of want to work towards. And so I'm going to aim for around like maybe 5 new people to meet this week and just kind of build a fun, cool gym environment and also work on my relationship skills and my professional skills. So I'm going to hit that up.
Nice. That's good. Impact is everything. And it takes a while to figure that out, especially when you worship chaos as a kid like me.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. I love that. It's amazing. Let's see. And the gym, dude, the gym's the easiest place to do it, especially as a personal trainer. Like, you can make a really good positive impact on a lot of people's lives, but you've got to be willing to, like, cross that uncomfortable threshold of talking to people.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna beat it.
Yeah. It's the muscle, though. You work that muscle of talking to people, it gets easier and easier and easier.
True.
And it's fun every time. Every time it's worth it. There's not a time that it's not worth it. Maybe once out of like 100, it's not worth it. Somebody's a dick. Yeah. Like, don't fucking talk to me. Like,
but it's true. It's like being a dude talking to girls for the first time, right? And you go talk. You're so nervous, right? Oh my gosh. And you go up and talk to her, and the feeling you get afterwards of just talking to her, it's like a crazy good feeling. It's the same type of thing. It's just like just talk to them. It's like rarely ever going to be an actual bad experience. Like the worst case scenario is going in your head, but yeah. And so that's what I'm learning and just working towards.
Being fully, dude. Even now, I've actually like rescinded back into like a little snail shell of talking to people. Like I don't talk to as many people in the gym anymore. I need to get back out there talking to people. So, but that's not my goal this week. My goal is still reading. I'll get back out socially later.
You gotta read first.
I need to get back on my reading, my consistent reading. I haven't been consistent with it, man. It's been shitty. I feel guilty about it. So that book, I thought I was gonna finish reading it that weekend. I did not. But that was an amazing book. Fucking amazing book. Like so good. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Honestly, highly recommend it. Really, really, really good. Teaches you how to like properly invest. It's really good. Probably one of the best financial books I've ever opened in my entire life. And it is what's going to get me to that 3.5. So next book I'm going to read is Turning Pro. I read it last year and I loved it, and I'm going to read it again. So I'm going to read Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. It's a really, really good book. So I read his War of Art and Turning Pro last year, and I want to read Turning Pro again this year. So that's what I'll be pounding out this week. That's my goal. That's
Cool.
it.
Get at it. Get reading.
I know.
Reading's so good.
All right. Well, that concludes episode 26.
Yeah, I think it's 26.
26. 2 minutes
26.
to life. Hell yeah.
All right.
All right, you fuckers. We'll see you next week.